one carrots. It is so.
Thanks for that.
So this
Thank you. I'm super excited.
should be, but full disclosure, she's my wife, so. You know, all the, all that, she's the resource. What not to feed the cats.
All right, well, it's noon, so I think we'll get rolling. My name is Brittany Gorgas, and I'm the coordinator for the Crow Wing County Master Gardener Volunteer Program. And today we have our second Tuesday presentation going on. We have people both on Zoom and in person, so welcome. And we have Amy Bear. Amy Bear is a retired veterinarian or certified veterinarian and has been a Master Gardener volunteer since 2024. She is passionate about shoreline restoration and food access. And today she's going to be talking about enchanting garden plants and the dangers they pose to our cats and dogs. So take it away, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. And thank you all for coming to the Brainerd Public Library and everybody on Zoom. We're not moving.
Not moving.
Nope.
Okay, we will share our screen again. Let's see. Beginning. It is working on the screen, but it's not working on Amy's screen. Let's see. 1 second, sorry about this. We will make sure that this is the right one. Okay, sorry about that. There we go.
So today we're going to talk about toxic plants and our pets. And I thought I'd first introduce you to our pets. We have Dexter in the back there. And he was our problem kitty. We lost him last spring, but he would get into everything. He would pick up things off the floor. He would eat plants. He would knock over vases. So very early in his life, I learned that I really couldn't have much in the way of flowers or plants in the house. Then we have Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat's still with us. She's a sweet little kitty. She doesn't get into anything. She doesn't bother with anything that's on the floor. She doesn't bother with plants. She's a really, really good kitty. In the front on the right, we have Cherry. On the left, we have Cherry. She's also a little angel. She never causes us any trouble. But in the back, we have Daisy. Daisy is now our major troublemaker. She has, we've had her for a year, and she's done nothing but get into trouble. She's had a toxic amount of caffeine. She's had a toxic amount of chocolate. She's had foreign body surgery. So she likes to sweep up anything she can find on the floor and eat anything she can find outside, including plants. So we have really learned a lot having our little Daisy.
Sorry, Amy.
Yeah.
The people on Zoom, their screen is not correct. So
Sorry, everybody.
yeah. I think it's something with presenter view, maybe. That's throwing us off. So maybe we will just leave the sidebar
I'm okay with whatever you need there.
if that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that looks right.
Looks good.
Okay. We'll
And then
get you
there too. Yeah,
this
that's
one
fine.
here. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So again, this is our little Daisy, and she has been nothing but trouble. So I know what it's like to have both cats and dogs who like to get into things. So today we're going to kind of look at our toxic plants to our pets. We'll look at our flower gardens. We'll look at our vegetable gardens. We'll look at our house plants. We'll also look at some other things in our gardens that can be toxic. We'll look at what are some alternatives we can put in our gardens, and also resources that are available to us. So, how many of us have pets here? Well, it's just about right then. In the United States, about 71% of households have cats and or dogs. That's about 79 million that have cats and 68 million that have dogs. We have a lot of pets. When I first started working back in around 1990, the number of households with pets was around 50%. It has grown steadily since then. It really took a jump during COVID, but it just continues to grow. So Brittany, I'm using the I can't use this. I have to do over here. And so I can just use this.
Try
Then
that.
I did. So
Okay.
that's there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So our pets like to eat things. They like to chew on stuff and eat things. They'll roll around in them to get their scent. They like to smell things. They're attracted to different smells and different tastes. They like our plants, they like our vegetables, our fruits, and they like a lot of other things in our gardens as well. So in 2024, these are the top calls that Pet Poison Helpline had for dogs. These are just the top calls. So we see chocolates right at the top. I can attest to that because of my little Daisy. She liked the chocolate. Grapes and raisins come in next. We'll see several of the mouse poisons on the list. Ibuprofen or Advil is there. We see marijuana, and then also at the end, we see things in the allium family or onions, leeks, and shallots. So in that top 10 list, three of them are plants.
Green grapes and red grapes.
Every kind of grape. Yep. And raisins. Yep. So an interesting thing about that is that when I first started working, 35 years ago, we actually told people they could use grapes for snacks for their pets, but they later found out that they were quite toxic. So, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. This is Odie. This was many years ago. One of my veterinary technicians that I worked with brought her dog in because he wasn't feeling well. He had been vomiting and was kind of depressed. He was dehydrated. We ran some blood work on Odie, and he had real high kidney values. Part of the history for Odie was that he had been with some family members, and the owner, the veterinary technician, remembered that he had had a grape, one grape. Wow. One grape, and it made him very ill. We treated Odie and put him on some IV fluids and some medication for nausea, and he actually did really well. Odie lived, he was 6 months old when that happened. Odie lived to 13. But remember, grapes and raisins are the #2 call to Pet Poison Helpline for dogs. It doesn't affect all dogs. We don't know why it affects some dogs and not other dogs at this point. And sometimes it can be an amount too. Some dogs can tolerate a larger amount of grapes. This dog, only one grape. He only got one grape. I'm going to talk a little bit about cats now too. Cats, they're not little dogs. They're not the same. They're carnivores, meaning they depend on meat for their nutrition. They have very different behaviors than dogs. They're attracted to different things. Different things in our house, different plants are interesting to them. They also have a different metabolism. So when they take medications, when they're exposed to things, their body processes it differently. And different things cause illness for cats. One of the main things for cats are lilies. Lilies are extremely toxic to cats. So in 2024, as we had with the dog list to Pet Poison Helpline, we have a cat list as well. These were the top calls in for cats. Lilies came out #1. Chocolate was on there as well. Onions, leeks, chives. Garlic was a big one. Okay. Again, ibuprofen. Some of the mouse poisons. There's a dog medication on there. And also tulips, especially tulip bulbs. I'm seeing some surprises out there. So when I was before I went to vet school, I was working at a clinic, and some people brought in their cat, and the cat was very, very ill. It was very sick. Its gums were just white, and they should be nice and pink. The kitty was drooling. Apparently, the cat had been fed quite a bit of garlic. And garlic, again, is kind of in the onion or allium family. Garlic is 5 times more toxic than onions. What it does is it can damage the red blood cells, and then the red blood cell level drops real low, and they're not able to get oxygen to their organs. So it's a very much a life-threatening problem. And garlic was #4 in calls to Pest Poison Helpline. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit about our gardens, our vegetable gardens, our flower gardens, and our indoor plants. We'll talk about how to know what is in our garden. What do we have in our garden? What are our plants? And which of them may be toxic to our pets? How do we keep our pets from getting exposed and getting sick? And how, if our pets do get into those plants, what are the symptoms? What happens to them? And then also, what should we do? What should we do if our pets get sick? So a toxic plant is one that contains poisonous material that can cause serious illness or even death. They can be very, very mildly toxic, and you may not see any symptoms whatsoever. You might not even know your pet was exposed, or they could be even severely toxic and cause death. The first thing I did when I signed up to do this presentation was I went out into my own garden, and I just started taking pictures and identifying some of my own plants. I wanted to know, what do I have out here? What might be toxic? Probably not much. I didn't think there'd be much that would be toxic. I found out that most things in my garden were toxic to dogs and cats. And it was a range from mildly toxic to severely toxic. Anywhere from not wanting to eat or drink or being itchy, all the way, again, to organ failure or even dying. So I looked at a few of the plants. First one was bleeding heart. All parts of the bleeding heart can be toxic. They're more toxic to dogs. It could cause them some stomach upset and irritation in their mouth. It can also cause some imbalance and tremors. Next one I looked at was lily of the valley. This one really surprised me. Lily of the valley is not a true lily, but it is extremely toxic to pets and to people. It can cause vomiting and diarrhea, changes in the heart. It can cause changes in the heart rate and rhythm, and it can cause seizures. So
In what way are they
they can cause changes in the heart as well. Don't eat them. Don't eat them. Yeah. Yeah, wash your hands after you do any of your garden work, because a lot of these plants can be toxic to people as well.
Well, do animals kind of still want to go?
Some do. Some do. especially dogs. They like to go and chew on things like bulbs, so.
Good one, but
The next one is hostas. Again, this one surprised me. This can cause, it can be toxic to both dogs and cats and cause vomiting and diarrhea. All parts of the plant are toxic. This is a less toxic plant, however. It doesn't seem to have severe symptoms. And we have the nightshade family. The picture on the left, on the bottom, that's deadly nightshade, which I imagine most people have heard of. The berries of this plant and the other parts of the plant as well, but the berries of this plant are severely toxic to people and to dogs and cats. There are other plants that are in the nightshade family that we eat all the time, like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. The ripe fruits of these plants are not toxic.
Tomatoes, that you see in the tomato plant itself, not tomatoes, but the tomato plant.
Tomato plant can be toxic. So what are the top toxic plants in our gardens? What are the top ones that places like Pet Poison Helpline get calls for? Lilies, again, extremely toxic to cats. There's a flame lily. It's not common in this part of the country, but that is also very toxic to cat. It is sometimes used in flower arrangements. Again, lilies of the valley. Bulbs. On the bottom are bulbs, tulip bulbs, daffodils. They can cause severe vomiting and diarrhea. Dogs like to follow us around. They like to dig things up, especially things that have been freshly dug up, and they like to chew on things. So they do like to chew on these bulbs. Be careful this time of year if you're putting bulbs in. Some others that can cause vomiting and diarrhea are chrysanthemums, geraniums, hydrangeas, peonies, and hostas. That's my little dog Cherry, or our little dog Cherry, sitting in the geranium pot. She wasn't eating it. She was just sitting there. Other plants in our garden that can be toxic, the ones that can cause heart changes, milkweed, foxglove, lily of the valley, and oleander. Plants that can cause vomiting and diarrhea and other more severe symptoms are spring crocus, can cause liver and kidney damage. Lantana, which has become a very popular plant, can cause breathing issues and liver failure.
All these things here, do they have to eat a measurable amount or just like?
Some it can be a very tiny amount. It can be a very tiny amount, like the grapes, and some it can be, a very, they can eat quite a bit more. So it can really vary from plant to plant. Right. Size, breed, age, health, all make a difference.
I have questions about the nightshade family. Should that include potatoes?
Yes. And we'll talk a little bit more about potatoes as well.
Thank you.
Some trees, black walnut, the can cause seizures in dogs, especially. Horse chestnuts, fruit trees. If your dogs like to go and clean up the apples that have fallen, we worry about cyanide in the seeds. It can also be in the stems and in the leaves. The cyanide can be and can especially cause breathing problems and getting oxygen out to the organs. And again, azaleas, rhododendron plants, bushes can cause vomiting and diarrhea, also heart changes and even death. So I'm going to speak a little bit about lilies right now and how important lilies are. I know I have a bunch of lilies in my garden. My kitties are not the outdoor kitties, but I know I have a lot. It is the #1 toxic plant to cats. There's so much so that Pet Poison Helpline started a campaign, and some of the handouts that are available are part of that campaign, the one that says "No Lilies for Kitties," to increase public awareness. So there's the handout, and if you don't have one, you can certainly pick one up on your way out. Lilies are found everywhere. They're found in the woods. They're found in ditches. There are many, many types of lilies. And exposure to any part of the lily can be fatal to a cat. It can be their flowers, it can be the pollen, it can be the stems, it can be the leaves, even the water in the vase can be toxic to a cat. Just a side note, lilies, some lilies have been banned from human hospitals because so many people are allergic to them. So if a cat gets into lilies, what do we see? Initially, they'll often not want to eat. I sort of compare it to this kitty in the front here. He just looks kind of down and out. You can look for signs that the cat might have eaten the lilies. Are there petals missing? Are there leaves missing? Is the vase knocked over? Is there pollen? The toxin in lilies, we don't know what it is. We have not yet identified it, so we don't know why they're so toxic to cats. There's not a specific treatment, only supportive. And in supportive, I mean, we keep them hydrated. We give them medications for their nausea. Sometimes we give them medications to coat their stomach so that they don't absorb more. This is a medical emergency. If you don't get your cat in right away, your cat may pass away. And it can cause sudden kidney failure in our cats.
Oh,
So here's what I call a short list of toxic lilies, but these are the more common lilies that we see. So Asiatic lilies, daylilies, right there in the top. Oriental lilies, stargazer lilies, tiger lilies, wood lilies, all toxic to cats. I'm going to talk about Angel. Angel was found on the property when we were building our new clinic. And she was about 6 weeks old. We adopted her and she quickly became our clinic cat. She would greet everybody that came into the clinic. She lived up in the reception area, up on the top of the fish tank. She had a little bed up there. So she said hello to everybody when they came in. And this is her as a little kitten. One day, 16 years later, when Angel was 16, a receptionist and I came into the building and realized that Angel had gotten into a lily bouquet. Of course, we're at a vet clinic and we had a lily bouquet. Not good. We knew it was her because she is the only pet on the premises at night. So we knew that she had to have gotten into the flowers. There were just a few little things that had been chewed off. We got her to throw up the missing pieces. We also noticed she had pollen all over her head. So we washed her, gave her a bath. We treated her for a number of days with IV fluids and some medications to get her through this. Again, there's no specific treatment for this. Angel did develop some mild kidney disease, but she did go on to live another 1.5 years. So she did have some, we think she did have some toxic effects from that lily exposure. So what can we do? What can we do to prevent toxicity for our cats with the lilies? Well, just be aware of what you have. And if you have outdoor cats or there are cats that come to your area, consider taking them out. That's one option. If your cat goes outside, know that your cat's going to be increased risk. We don't always know where our cats go. The cat may go to a neighbor 5 doors down and that person might have lilies. So being aware of what dangers are out there for your cats. Know which lilies are dangerous and which are maybe safer, which other flowers might be safer. If you have cats in your home, don't have lilies inside. That is the safest way to go because any little exposure could be life-threatening. Also, if you give a gift to somebody and it has lilies in the bouquet, make sure they don't have cats. This is my dog, Lily. And it's to remind me that dogs really don't have problems with any exposure to lilies. They can get a little stomach upset, but it's not a big toxin for them like cats. So what are some safer alternatives for our pets that we can have in our yards? I have a list here. Some of them have stars and they may cause some mild stomach upset for our pets, like baby's breath, the Peruvian lily, which again is not a true lily. and carnations, but we also have safer things like daisies, orchids, roses, marigolds, sunflowers, and zinnias. Other safer pets. This is my kitty Dexter when he was with us into the petunias and coleus there, which are two plants that are safer. Hens and chicks, sweet potato vine, asters, nasturtiums, pansies. These are all safer options. How do we keep our pets safe if we have toxic plants in our yard? One, make sure we identify, make sure you know what you have in your yard. Try and pick pet friendlier plants. You may need to put up barriers such as fences or other enclosures for your pets. Also, again, know that your yard is not the only place your pet may go. Your dog may wander a little bit, your cat may wander a little bit. You don't always know what they're getting into. So now we'll turn to some vegetables and fruits that can be toxic to our dogs and cats. So there's quite a list of vegetables and fruits. We talked about the onion family. The onion family can be toxic to both dogs and cats. Raw potatoes, cooked potatoes are okay. Grapes and raisins can be very toxic, not to all. Peas, sometimes you will hear they are safe. Sometimes you will hear they have the potential to be toxic. I think the jury is still out on peas. Peas are often an ingredient in dog foods, but it's also been implicated in causing a type of heart disease in dogs. Cherries, apples, high in sugar, but also the cyanide, remember. Spinach seems pretty simple, but in large amounts, it could cause stomach upset and kidney problems. Rhubarb, I think a lot of people have heard about rhubarb. It can cause very severe organ damage. And green tomatoes. Green tomatoes can cause stomach upset for dogs. So we'll talk a little bit about Maggie, the rat terrier, and Hope, the golden retriever. The owner is a master gardener, and I see her here in the audience today. She grows tomatoes on her deck. And she came home from vacation ready to harvest her tomatoes, and every single tomato was gone. The ripe tomatoes were gone, the green tomatoes were gone. That was her tomato. Tomatoes looked like that. So Maggie and Hope were okay. Neither suffered any illness.
Never said a word.
They never said a word. Again, you may see no symptoms of it causing any problems. Sometimes maybe the pet will just miss a meal, but it can cause stomach upset. Ripe tomatoes are safer. So what are some safer vegetables that we can have for our pets? Cooked potatoes, they're okay. We talked about raw potatoes, no raw potatoes, or raw sweet potatoes. Ripe tomatoes, carrots, green beans, cucumbers, cooked pumpkin, but not pumpkin pie filling. And bell peppers and zucchini. So safer fruits that we grow, cantaloupe and watermelon. Be sure to remove the rind if you feed your pets any cantaloupe or watermelon, because the rind can cause problems in their intestinal tract. It's not something that's easily digested and could cause blockage. So they could get quite sick from that. Apples are safe if you remove the cores and stems. Berries, strawberries, raspberries, mangoes are okay, but they're high in sugar. Also have a little bit about herbs. Herbs that are potentially toxic, borage, marjoram, mint, oregano, and tarragon. All of these can cause vomiting and diarrhea in our pets. Hops is also considered an herb. And what we can see with hops is a condition that's called malignant hyperthermia. And it's where the body gets, the temperature goes real high. And so they have real high temperature that can end up causing seizures and even death. Safer herbs, as we have with our kitty Dexter there, we have some thyme. It's interesting, it was a plant he was never interested in. It was one plant he never chewed on. Basil and rosemary. So, yeah, hi, Rose.
After, problems with dogs eating corn cobs.
Yes.
Started.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen some dogs get very ill from corn cobs. So yes, that's something to be careful of, is just giving them a corn cob, or they sometimes will go into the compost top pile or the garbage and eat the whole cob, and they'll swallow the cob whole. Sometimes if it's a big dog, sometimes they'll throw them up. Sometimes they get in there and can cause blockage, and some dogs end up needing surgery for that. So,
My daughter's dog,
yeah,
and, it was very serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very expensive.
Yes, yes. So I've removed corn cobs. So yes, from stomachs.
Hops was the other thing, is that toxic to both dogs and cats?
I believe so. I can check for you, Rosie.
That's what I need to talk to about them.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So back to what can we do as prevention? Know know what you have in your garden, and as far as fruits, vegetables, and herbs that are safe for our pets and which could be toxic. And maybe consider some type of barrier, a fence, if you have some toxic things in your garden, some type of barrier to keep them out of there. If you have a garden that has some things in it, just be sure your pets aren't able to get in there. So we'll turn a little bit to houseplants. Okay, so I was at Costco the other day. I walked in and down one whole aisle, maybe not a whole aisle, but were houseplants. They're starting to sell houseplants there. And bulbs, fall bulbs, a whole big display of bulbs. And after putting this presentation together, I was like, oh, like every one of those is toxic to my dogs and cats. So there's a lot of things out there. I went to Aldi like the next day, and they had same kind of things on display. All these houseplants are available now, and almost every one of them was toxic. So be aware of what you're bringing into your house. So toxic houseplants, we have things like the sago palm. All parts of the sago palm are toxic. Can cause vomiting, diarrhea, liver failure, even death. I put these other three, the pothos, peace lily, and philodendron, together here. They can cause mouth irritation, stomach upset, and eye pain. They're not severely toxic. When I was in high school, I got my very first plant from a friend, and I was very excited to have my own plant. And so I got a book and read about this plant. It was a pothos, and it talked in there about how it can cause mouth irritation. It wasn't about a pet, it was about people, that it can cause mouth irritation. And I thought, oh, really? So I tried it. Sure enough, it did. It was like pins and needles all over my mouth. I have not done that with plants since then. Other toxic houseplants, aloe vera, this one surprised me. Can cause severe vomiting and diarrhea. Cyclamen, vomiting and diarrhea, changes again in the heart, seizures and possible death. This is in animals. Yep. Yep. I talked about myself, but almost everything I'm presenting is about animals. Asparagus fern, vomiting and diarrhea, jade plant, stomach upset and stumbling. So what are some safer plants? Here's some safer plants. We can have African violets, Christmas cactus, spider plants, wax plants. The thing with houseplants is they can be challenging. As I said, our kitty Dexter, he didn't really care what the plant was. He'd be chewing on this spider plant as soon as he saw it. So they can still cause problems. Like Rosie said with the corn cob, it's not the corn that's toxic. It's not the corn cob that's toxic, but it can cause blockage in the intestine. So even these safer plants can be a problem for our pets. As we come into the holidays, we have some holiday plants that can be toxic to our pets. Holly can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and mouth irritation. The good thing is that the irritation to the mouth from the little spikes on the leaves is kind of a deterrent. They're less interested in that. Poinsettias, these are rarely toxic. I think we have heard, most of us our whole life, that poinsettias are toxic to pets. This has been exaggerated over the years. And I think I read the other day that it came from one case report from like 1919. So that's how information carried forward, that poinsettias were extremely toxic, but they are not. They can cause some stomach and mouth irritation. And amaryllis, especially the bulb, can cause vomiting, not wanting to eat, intestine upset.
Amy, there's a question in
Yeah.
the chat if you happen to know if Dieffenbachia is toxic.
I believe it is. I believe it is, but I can check.
Okay.
So I will take a sidestep here from the questions that are coming in, as far as individual plants. So ASPCA Pet Poison Helpline has an entire list of plants that are toxic to dogs, an entire list of plants that are toxic to cats, and also plants that are safe, non-toxic to pets. The toxic to dogs list is about 450 plants. These are toxic to dogs that we are aware of. And same with the cats. The lists are very long, but they are an excellent resource for us to look to, is the ASPCA Pet Poison Control. They have excellent lists of toxic and non-toxic plants. So I'm going to touch on marijuana. Again, this was in the top 10 calls to Pet Poison Helpline and to ASPCA Pet Poison Control. They have seen a 430% increase in calls about this since 2019. Part of that is it's more available to our pets in recent years. It comes in many forms: plant form, gummy form, drinks, foods, and secondhand smoke. So all of these things have the potential to be toxic to our pets. Dogs in particular seem to be more attracted to marijuana and marijuana products. What do we see if a pet has had exposure to this? Sometimes they're kind of dazed, stumbling. A hallmark of marijuana exposure can be dribbling urine. The pet may just be kind of dazed and dripping urine around the house. It can have heart rate changes. The thing about marijuana exposure is pets are much more sensitive to marijuana and marijuana products than we are. So they can have a much more heightened reaction to it. We can see that usually not long term, but they can have much more severe reactions. They can have kind of both ends of the spectrum. They can get very excited, be vocalizing, such as whining or barking. Also, it can produce a severe end of coma. So this is Max the pit bull. Max came into our clinic. He was stumbling, he was nauseated, and he was dribbling urine. The owners did not give us a full history on Max until we asked if that was a possibility that he may have been exposed to marijuana. And then the answer was yes, that was something that could have occurred. Max was treated with some IV fluids and some medication for nausea, and by the next day he was 100%. Again, this is not a specific treatment, it just supports the pet through that time. And it takes time, some fluid therapy, sometimes some medications. What can we do to prevent our pets from getting exposed? Keep things stored properly, up and away from our animals. Don't let them be exposed to things like secondhand smoke. So this is, I'm going to just touch on mushrooms real quick. I actually ran into a veterinarian friend of mine yesterday at Costco, and she said she was on emergency call and she got a call about mushrooms, that the dog had eaten mushrooms. So mushrooms can cause vomiting and diarrhea. It can vary quite a bit. It can also even cause liver failure and death. The time that it takes to affect the pet can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours before we start to see symptoms. Even for people who study mushrooms, it can be difficult for them to identify what the mushroom is. And the best prevention for us and our pets is keep the mushrooms out of our yards so that they don't eat them. I came out one day and we have an enclosed area for our dogs to keep them safe, and discovered there were some mushrooms growing in the enclosure. So we got those out of there. Other garden products that we use in our garden that we want to keep away from our pets. Things like moldy compost. Dogs might be attracted to that and want to chew on that and eat it. Our chemicals that we use, things like weed killers, pesticides, can cause a lot of different symptoms depending on what they've ingested. We can have problems with iron toxicity if the products contain iron. Organic fertilizers, we think of those as safer. Well, things like bone meal and fish meal, probably very few symptoms for our pets, but something like blood meal can cause more severe problems like vomiting and diarrhea. This is Abby. Abby's a golden retriever, and Abby is owned by my brother. Abby liked to go to the garden with my brother and hang out with him. One day my brother called to Abby and she came out from behind the shed. And he thought, wonder what she did, you know? So he went back to the shed and looked, and there was a bag of Milorganite that she'd chowed down quite a bit. So much he could see her belly, that her belly was a little distended. Milorganite is an organic fertilizer, and it's composted wastewater. It can cause some stomach upset. That much could cause blockage. Abby recovered just fine, and there were no problems for her. So, what can we do as far as prevention in our gardens for our garden products? Use pet safe products. Make sure that they're safe for our animals. Store them safely. Keep things locked up. Keep pets away from newly treated areas. Dogs are on the ground. Their paws get in contact with things. Their nose gets contact. They like to lick things and chew things. They're not standing up here away from the chemicals. Always read the instructions on your labels. And also, if for pests, consider doing what is called companion planting to keep the small pests, the insects away, such as basil, nasturtiums, and marigolds. So with our toxic plant ingestion, these are some of the symptoms that we can see in pets. Some will show no symptoms. Some pets will show vomiting, diarrhea, drooling, not wanting to get up, not wanting to eat. They could have very white gums. They could have very, very extreme red gums. They might have seizures. or strange behaviors, trouble breathing, changes in their heart. These are all symptoms of potential toxicity. I want you to look here. These are symptoms of other health problems in pets. This is the exact same list. So just because your pet has any of these symptoms does not mean that they got into our plants, but it's something to be aware of that they could have gotten into our plants. They might be vomiting and diarrhea because they have a parasite. They may not want to eat because there's construction going on next door. They might have seizures because they have epilepsy. So these symptoms alone don't say that the pet has ingested a toxin. So what should we do if we know our pet eats something or they're ill? We know that they like to eat things. And our pets just don't distinguish between things that are safe and not safe, and things that are toxic and not toxic. They like to get into our plants and vegetables. They like to eat things, and they'll even get into the chemicals. So this is my friend Henry. He used to be one of my patients. His owner dressed him up for every holiday. So what do we do if our pets are ill? Or say you know your kitty got exposed to lilies. Pet Poison Helpline? Pet Poison Helpline is actually a Minnesota company. It's staffed 24 hours a day for us to be able to call and say, my cat got exposed to lilies. I see pollen all over her. And then there's ASPCA Poison Control. These two corporations both have fees if you call them, but they will advise you on what to do next. They may give you some home information that you can do at home, or they may say you need to see your veterinarian immediately. You can check their websites. You can look for what are toxic plants, what are not toxic plants, because there's a lot of them, and I certainly don't know them all. And then contact your veterinarian. The thing I would say is use Google with caution. Everything that we Google is not true. So those should be your resources, the pet poison control and pet poison, animal poison, pet poison helpline. So again, call your veterinarian. The things they may want to know is what symptoms are going on. When did things happen? Do you know when your pet may have ingested or been exposed to something? The breed of your pet, what they weigh, how much did they get into? If you know what the potential plant was, if you can take a picture of it, if you can identify it with a plant app, if you can bring it with you, all those things will help. Don't delay. Call your veterinarian and try and get in right away if necessary. Don't make your pet vomit unless you've been instructed to do so and how to do that. Because specific plants may require specific treatment. So how can we prevent problems? How can we prevent our pets from getting ill? The best treatment is prevention. We want to use pet safe plants, pet safe flowers, vegetables, and fruits when at all possible. If we have animals at home, know what's in your yard. Try and identify what you have of what may be toxic and what may be not toxic. Watch your yard and what your pets do. Are there things they're attracted to that you may need to move to somewhere else that you think they might want to chew on? Does your dog want to dig up those bulbs you just put in? If you have to restrict parts of your gardens to your pets, you may need to put up some barriers, some fences, some enclosures. Keep your garden products stored safely. And don't wait until your pets are sick. And also have these emergency numbers available to you. So what have we talked about today? We've talked about that there's an incredible number of toxic plants and plant products out there that can be a problem for our pets. And they can really range a lot from just being mildly toxic, no symptoms, to life-threatening. Know what you have in your garden. And what can we do to protect our pets? Know that there are safer alternatives that are available. Safer plants, safer chemicals, safer ways to keep pests from our plants. Know what fruits and vegetables are safe, even if we're feeding them in the house, which ones are okay, which ones we should be cautious with. Also know that there are a lot of resources available to you. The ASPCA, Pet Poison Control, Pet Poison Helpline, and your veterinarian. And also to act quick if you know your pet has been exposed or if your pet is ill. The other thing is that we've learned is that lilies are incredibly dangerous to cats. Very, very serious problem. So, you know, we love our pets. We want to keep them safe. So those are things we can do to keep them safe, keep them healthy. So as master gardeners, we try to focus on certain parts of what is our priority circle, our priority wheel. And today we've looked at horticulture skills, which is in the upper left corner, as our plants relate to our pets. So if you have any questions, you can certainly ask a master gardener. And I can certainly answer any questions that come in as well, as best I can. I am not a toxicologist. I was a general practitioner. I just worked with dogs and cats. So, yeah. Thank you all.
I have a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Gayla's saying she brought in lilies, kept them up high, but pollen would fall. Would that be toxic?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Very dangerous.
Why do dogs sometimes eat grass?
Oh. Sometimes we think that dogs eat grass because they may be nauseated, and some dogs will throw up after they've eaten the grass. I had a golden retriever at one time. She would, first time in the springtime that the snow was gone, she'd go out and eat grass. She would eat grass all summer long until it was gone in the fall. We never had a problem. So I don't know that we always know why. I think there can be several reasons probably why they are attracted to grass.
My mother actually had a little low plant for the cat
Yes, yes,
with a little bit of grass
Yes.
in it.
Yep.
Because the vet told her that it had vitamin C or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Yep. Often you can get little plants for cats. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just grass.
just grass. Yeah, yeah,
Cat loved it.
good.
It was right in it.
So, a little bit, if someone were to give you some lilies and you had a high counter, to put those lilies on, but you saw there was pollen, could you cut the anthers off of the lilies and obviously that would maybe minimize some of those?
Yeah, it would minimize things, but I guess I would play it safe and not have lilies anywhere in the house that your cat could get exposed. So I've been surprised at how high a cat can jump up to if they're determined. And have seen that they'll get up to where you think things are safe. So probably the best thing is to not have lilies in the house. Any other questions? Yes.
This isn't a question, but we have little chipmunks. And we were giving our chipmunks cherries.
Uh-huh.
And then we found out that the cherry seed is poison.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So the cherries have cyanide in them. So I would steer clear of cherries. Yeah. Cherry pits. Cherry pits. Oh. Yeah.
don't think they were even seed.
The cherry, the outside,
That would be, oh, that
no, should not be, but even things like the stems and the leaves can have cyanide in them as well.
Apple seeds.
Apple seeds, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming, thanks.
Well, thank you, yeah, thank you everybody for coming, and next month, it won't be on the second Tuesday, it will be the Wednesday following because of Veterans Day. And it will be Tracy Strock presenting on creative holiday arrangements. All right.
Thanks,
thank
Brittany, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
No drinks, you just talked and talked.
Rose, this is my sister, she's visiting. Nice to meet you, Rose.
I don't know, they have this thing, officer in the state.
But,